Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Hope all is well in your world. Let's jump into our cosmic weather for today. Over at spaceweather.com, solar wind is 385.3 kilometers per second. Our planetary K index is a 2, which is quiet and expected to be no higher than this next 24 hours. The chance for an M-class flare is only about a 25% chance, and X-class flare very low, only about a 1% chance. But there is chance for auroras, so if you're in the mid-latitudes, you got a 40% chance. Goes down about 10% over the next 24 hours, and it's just a little bit higher if you're in a high latitude. So if you are, get your cameras ready. You never know what you might find. Kind of like this right there. Pretty cool, huh? Alright, and as we said, the sun is peppered with sunspots, but none of them actively flaring. Solar activity should remain low for the next 24 hours. Alright, now moving right along. Planets and the stars, we're still dealing with the sun sign of Aquarius for a couple more days yet. So we have our sun sign, or our conscious mind, is dealing with watery issues, water emotions, love, feelings, all of those kind of things. Water can be still and stagnant, or it can be move and be flowing. A lot of things can happen with water. So if we just imagine our conscious mind as like that watery element and see how it's being affected, it might make a difference in your life. It might give you a new perspective on how you use energy. And then the moon sign for today, which is representative of the unconscious, is right over here. And we are in between signs. And we're between the signs of Scorpio and Sagittarius. Alright? It's between Scorpio and Sagittarius. Tomorrow we will all be all the way in the new sign, but we're in that in-between phase. Sagittarius fire, Scorpio water. So again, dealing with issues and elements of water and fire. So our conscious mind is kind of shifting from that flow of emotions into more creative ideas. That's usually what the fire brings with it, something creative, idea related. Alright, that's our moon signs and our sun signs. The current moon phase is about 3/4 of the way, 51% full. We're in our third quarter. Alright, then the dream spell for today in the Mayan Oracle. We're at the beginning of a new wave spell, so we're at the first position here, and we're going to go around for 13 positions, all with the theme of the red earth. The red earth. Now the guide for today, you got the earth is in the middle, which is the symbol, the kin, and above it you have the earth, which is the guide, and then the supporting cast around it, which is the hand, the seed, and the wind. The phrase for today, red magnetic earth guided by the earth, is, I unify in order to evolve, attracting synchronicity. I seal the matrix of navigation with the magnetic tone of purpose. I am guided by my own power doubled. And on the Gregorian calendar, it is Tuesday, February 14th, 2012. That means it is Valentine's Day down here on Earth, so happy Valentine's Day to you and your loved ones and so on and so forth. Hope you're going to have a great day and you have something special planned. Just reach out to those around you. Just let them know that you care about them. Tell them you love them. That's a good thing. A good thing, so it's a good thing to be reminded every day, but especially a day like today. This is a good day to take time out for that. Alright, that is our cosmic weather. Now our very first story we're going to get to today. This is Pastor James David Manning, and he is talking about the trial that recently took place with Obama. Now, as you heard, Obama did not show up at this trial. There was a lot of interesting circumstances that took place with this trial, and you're going to get to hear the first part of a two-part interview of Dr. James David Manning with Susan Daniels. Here we go. Here we go.
private investigator par excellence, Susan Daniels. How are you today?
Oh, I'm fine, Reverend Manning, and thank you very much for having me on.
Well, it's our honor and delight. I tell you, you got a lot of friends across America, and you got one in Virginia named Victoria. I know you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And she really loves you, and she's always talked to me about you. You've done a great work, and I'm your friend as well. I want you to know that. I really appreciate all the great work that you've done. But, you know, if you could just kind of introduce yourself to our audience. I think people need to know that you actually do run a private investigation firm, and you've been doing so now for a couple of decades. And we want to talk about where you are now in your testimony at the trial and the success of uncovering these false Social Security numbers for both Obama and Michelle.
Yeah. Well, to give you a little background, I have been licensed as a private investigator in Ohio since March of 1995. I hold a bachelor's and a master's degree in English from Cleveland State, and I've been certified as a paralegal for more than 30 years. So I have the credentials to do the work I do. Now, with Obama, what I did is somebody hired me 2.5 years ago. They were very unhappy immediately with the direction the country started taking after he got into office. And I have access to databases because I'm licensed that the ordinary person would not be able to access. I put in his name and the state of Illinois, and immediately a Social Security number popped up, and I recognized that it could not be a real Social Security number for him.
Yes, yes.
The reason being is said it was issued in Connecticut between the years of 77 and 79, and I knew he was in high school in Hawaii at the time. Social Security numbers are issued by the address that you live at when you apply for them. At least it was until June of last year. Now they now do it randomly. And I think it's in response to me finding him using a phony Social Security number.
Can I just check you there and say that you have very possibly changed the entire federal Social Security structure because of your in-depth investigation with regard to how they issue them as associated with your present residential address? Is that what I hear you saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds very, very vain, but
no, it isn't. No.
Explanation for it.
It's not vain at all. It's the truth, and you have changed the world, and I think we ought to be able to recognize that. So I'll just tell people that, so you don't have to say it in the future.
Well, thank you, thank you. I then proceeded to. I took that number and started running other things and came up with a bunch of addresses for him. I did find other Social Security numbers for him, as did Neil Sankey in California. However, none of them were complete, which I mean, when I say that, I mean the last 4 numbers were missing, or if they were complete, I had no way to prove that they actually were him at addresses around the country. I would not be surprised if it was him because he's been known to run some scams in the past. But the Connecticut one is a slam dunk. I had addresses for him for everywhere from his house in Chicago to his address when he was in Massachusetts going to Harvard, and when he was a senator in Washington, D.C. All of them, I must have printed out 10 pages of him at different addresses, including law firms and everything in Chicago, with the same Social Security number.
Well, now, this Social Security number does not belong to him.
No.
Who does it belong to? And he has never lived in the state of Connecticut.
Oh, absolutely not. I believe it belongs to somebody that was born in 1890, because when I originally ran it trying to verify it, it came up with his name, Barack Hussein Obama. It came up with his date of birth in 2 ways, the American way and the foreign way, which is the foreign way is you put the date, or the day, the month, and then the year. It's different than we do it. But it also came up with the year 1890. Now, when I ran addresses for him, I started running individual addresses for him. Every so often, instead of his date of birth, which is August 4th of 61,
right,
it would come up with 1890. And the same thing, exactly the same thing with his phone numbers.
Why
the year 1890 would show up sporadically.
Why do you think he selected that particular number? And obviously, the person is deceased and not using the number. But why do you think he selected that particular number?
Oh, I think so. I don't think he selected. I think somebody gave it to him to use. He didn't start using that number till the mid 80s. At that point, he was already 25 years old, which tells me that he had a previous Social Security number that he doesn't want anybody to know about.
Okay, so, and who do you suspect selected that number for him?
Oh, you know what? It could be, look how many people are hiding the truth. It could have been anyone. It could have been the CIA, it could have been Bill Ayers, it could have been anyone.
Okay. And now that he is using this number, and this information that you have discovered has been plastered over nearly every media online site, and yet the government has done nothing. I think that one case appeared before the courts, and I want to get to the Georgia hearing in just a moment.
Okay.
And the judge issued a statement that we're not concerned about his Social Security number. Is that what has taken place?
Well, it's worse than that. There was a lawsuit in Colorado last year where it was proven that somebody used somebody else's Social Security number without their knowing it to buy a car, and the judge ruled that it's not illegal to use somebody else's Social Security number. They are doing everything in the world that they can to dance around the fact that he's using a fraudulent number, which is a felony.
Now, you have been investigating Obama now for some time.
Right.
You've discovered also that Michelle Obama very possibly has a fraudulent number, or at least...
Well, I found a second number for her, but it was like the same situation with the other numbers I found for him. I could not come up with proof. So I just set that one aside.
All right. Okay. Now, let's move on quickly to the hearing that took place before Judge Malihi down in Georgia. And I would like to know if you were able to testify in that hearing.
Yes, I was.
And what information did you present?
It's exactly the things I've just been telling you about. Everything that I found with him with the Social Security number. I had additional information that Orly Tates would not let me present for reasons that I will never understand.
Can I ask you to present it here?
Absolutely.
Please.
This is the first time I'm telling anybody. He had, I was able to get, and this was perfectly legal. There was a time when investigators were able to buy lists of people with their driver's license records. And I was able to get a copy of microfiche showing in alphabetical order where he showed up in Massachusetts with the Social Security number of Connecticut.
Let me. So this is the first time this information is being dispensed. Well, we've got an exclusive here today on the Manning Report.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, well,
because I had this information for Orly, and she wouldn't let me use it. And what is so disgraceful about that entire hearing in Georgia is the judge lied, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. He called because nobody was there to represent Obama.
Right.
And the arrogance of it is, I mean, if his attorney Jablonski doesn't lose his license, there is something sadly wrong in the state of Georgia. But the judge called the three attorneys into his chambers before the hearing even started, and he told them that he was going to give them a default judgment because they did not show up.
That's correct. Yes, he did.
And they came out, and we were told that. All of us were told that. We were sitting in the first two rows, the witnesses. We were told that. That they were going to award a default judgment, but that he was going to let everybody present their evidence so it would be on the record. Well, when he came out with his decision, that all changed. He no longer awarded them a default judgment, and he said, well, since everybody presented evidence, we're going to base our decision on the evidence.
Indeed, what he did was that he acted as a defense for Obama rather than a judge in the matter.
Oh, well, absolutely. But what really got me in the decision is it starts out with saying that, President Obama was born in the United States. Now, no testimony was given at all regarding where he was born or where he was not born. Now, why that's included in the decision, I have no idea, except for the ability of other judges in other lawsuits now to go back and cite that, saying, no, that it's already been proven that he was born here. Well, that evidence nobody ever said anything about it. And then what really got me was when I saw within a week, all of a sudden, Georgia was approved for permits for 2 nuclear power plants to be built there.
Okay.
They are the first applications approved since 1978. And there have been, I'm sure there's in excess of 20 applications that have been pending. And within a week, Georgia is approved for the building of 2 nuclear power plants.
Go Georgia Bulldogs, go Georgia Malia.
Oh, yeah.
But
I mean, the American people, if they don't wake up, it's going to be too late if it isn't already.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. So that was the first part of the Manning report. There's another part out there. You can follow it up on your own, but very interesting. All right, let's get to our UFO news for today. First story comes to us from UFOs.com. UFOs.com. All right. UFO sighting over volcano Villarrica, Chile, of pink diamond craft, February 5th, 2011. All right, so if we're going to go down here, this is the volcano in question. All right, and we're going to go here to get a real close look here at the object in question. All right. Looking at the live Chile cam right now, I see these images I am posting. In the upper left-hand corner of the screen is a UFO in a diamond shape. The sun is hitting just right, causing the cloak shields to reveal themselves. Okay, here we go. This is the object he's talking about right there. And get a closer up view. There we go. See that up in the upper left-hand corner there? Alright, it's not there in that one. Alright, very interesting, very good catch there. Our next story comes to us from Canada. No idea what this is. There's been 3 of them that do this every night, though tonight only 1. This was taken using Skywatcher telescope and using a Sony DSC N1 camera. Telescope collimination is best. I can get it, not quite perfect. Alright, let's check this out over Edmonton. Alright, very interesting looking. We've seen some like this before, these bright glowing ones. And as he said, this witness said there's usually 3 of them. At this occasion, there's only 1. Alright. Very colorful craft indeed. Alright, moving right along, our next story takes us to Sydney, Australia. This was from the 30th of January. And this is what the object we're going to be seeing here. It's the object over, looks like a bridge or roller coaster. Aha, it's a bridge. The amazing real Sydney Harbor UFO sighting footage was fortuitously taken on the afternoon of January 30th, 2012 by a tourist called Yuri. The video captures 3 unidentified flying objects or white light orbs accelerating rapidly across the sky from left to right. All right, left to right, so we're going to go this way here. Let's take a look and see what we have. All right, we're looking from left to right. All right, went by pretty quick. Okay, we're going to move across rapidly, so we want to catch them. Alright, they move pretty darn fast. There we go. And across the sky they go. Alright, see if there's any closer images here. Nope, that's it. So, check this out yourself. You can blow the image up, and again, these are the objects that are there. And when you go with the full size of the screen, I'm sure you'll be able to see it a little better. Alright, this comes to us from realufos.net. The news of a 4-meter-high ET walking the streets of Italy is making big news over there. Witness: Leonard D'Andrea, worker Quadriolpo in Cafaro, who was driving his car while visiting the Napoleon of the new roundabout in Mort Lake, was forced to stop. I noticed the car stop. I queued, says D'Andrea. I thought at the time of an accident, but when I fell, I noticed that there was cars in front of a strange creature that walking along the road was about 4 meters high and was silent. D'Andrea wanted to tell my father, but the phones were not working. There was no fluid. Then took the torch and lit the gray creature. Nothing that her legs were slightly bending forward and back by a sort of very large tendons. Well, the illuminative noted that the head had a round shape and ending in a conical shape. The creature walked on the road, not caring at all that cars stopped and people, reminiscent of D'Andrea. In front of me was Mazda with a family. The mother took the two children hiding behind the seats, while 2 girls behind me wanted to call 113, but the phone did not go. Alright, very interesting indeed. 4 foot tall. No pictures, unfortunately, to be able to see. We'll follow up, and hopefully there'll be some more information coming forth on this one. And now back to Oregon for the boxes. This is Stonefield Beach again. The source of the man's fear of extraterrestrial intelligence is obvious, says UFO watchers who claim metal boxes started appearing after recent sightings. One goal of science is to find out if we're alone in the universe. Still, it seems obvious that there's an extraterrestrial intelligence out there, says Errol and other members of the Oregon UFO Watcher group that investigated coastal beaches. February 12th, in a search of mysterious metal boxes that showed up last week after a particularly busy night of sightings. Meanwhile, there's still no official explanation. As of February 13th, about the boxes from Maine, marine science officials at the nearby Hatfield Marine Science Center in Newport, what's known is that the boxes sort of radiate a blue light that doesn't get lost in the blaze of our sunset. Also, Errol notes how coastal beach goers seem to just walk by the boxes without even taking notice. In turn, there's a who cares attitude by local police since the metal boxes seem benign. Still, there were reports from locals this past weekend that someone is moving the boxes. In turn, those who live near Stonefield Beach, where 3 metal boxes have appeared in the surf, also notice the aura of colors. Also, locals are at odds at how to explain the colors. For instance, Errol's recorded several views, including one local Stonefield astronomy fan who says that over the course of time it takes the sun to set, the colors deepen and get very intense, feeling inside that this is much more than just a big square block of metal. Also, some beachgoers who said they feared some radiation or other threat might be thrown off by the mysterious boxes are now sort of living with them as part of the local beach debris. It's nothing to me but a hunk of solid metal, quipped one senior who poked one of the boxes with a stick, while also noting there's no barnacles around it. I dug around and there are no barnacles underneath it either. The man said anything floating at sea for a long period would have barnacles of some sort. An unofficial count of 18 boxes has been identified along the Oregon coast, adds Errol, with many others up alongside beaches in Washington State and a dozen others down at Clam Beach in the Humboldt, California area. So very interesting. We'll have to check and see what's going on with all of this, but still the source of the boxes are unknown. We'll find out what they are, hopefully. All right, time to jump away for a song. I'll be back. I got more news, so stay tuned. Hold on. What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Government should be afraid of them.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing, but they're illusion from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, Big Brother's watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What if by land and two if by sea? And I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth. All right. All right, continuing on with the news here. Continuing on. First story, right here. FBI says 9/11 truthers should be treated as possible terrorists. Do you think this last song, Wake Up, kind of gives any clue to being a 9/11 truther here? That first line gives it away, right? 9/11 was an inside job. All right. Goes on to say, this is from the Intel Hub. In the last few weeks, the FBI, in conjunction with the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice, have sent out 25 flyers that label normal, everyday activities as possible terrorist indicators. These flyers also specifically target political speech and the belief that the CIA and others had part in 9/11 in order to justify, among other things, multiple foreign wars. That's right. Our government is teaching state and local law enforcement nationwide that 9/11 truthers should be immediately looked at as possible terrorists. An FBI Bureau of Justice document on spotting potential sleeper cells within the United States specifically states that someone may be a terrorist sleeper agent if they believe the CIA had a hand in 9/11, a fact that has been heavily documented by thousands of experts. Rogue elements does not mean the entire CIA. All right, and it says here, What should I consider suspicious? Well, it says the following information is intended to list characteristics of persons that may be involved in terrorist activity that are described as sleepers or otherwise persons who camouflage their involvement in terrorist activity or planning by attempting to fit in with others. All right, recognizing sleepers. Arrival from countries where violent militant groups are known to operate. Long explained absences from purposes of religion, education. Travel to countries where militant Islam rules. Purchase of chemicals or other dual-use materials. Scouting out military bases, government buildings, and potential targets. Attitude indicators. Support for militant Islamic groups. Excessive violence against Americans on the grounds that American actions provoke the problems. Fury at the West for reasons ranging from personal problems to global policies of the U.S. and conspiracy theories about Westerners, the CIA arranged for 9/11 to legitimize blah 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 blah. All right, last week in Tel Hub, contributing writer Madison Rupert wrote an extensive article that highlighted the details of all 25 flyers that were sent out. If you remember all of the information, there's quite a lot of list of things that they're looking for. But listen, man, if you believe in 9/11, if you believe that 9/11 was an inside job, you are not a terrorist. You are not a terrorist at all. There's a difference between out trying to hurt your country and then paying attention to really what went on. There's a big difference. It's kind of like doing detective work. So if you're clever enough to understand that 9/11 was an inside job and the CIA was involved with it, just like they were involved with the Kennedy assassination, that does not make you a terrorist just by pointing it out. It just means that there are rogue elements in those agencies that need to go. Because those rogue elements that go from the CIA, the FBI all the way up to the White House are also the same rogue elements that are hurting the country. So if we get rid of them, like the Obamas and the Holders and all the other Cheneys and the Bushes and all those that caused the problems, and those that are in the CIA and the FBI, if we get rid of all the problem makers there, we might have a fighting chance at this being a really good country. But until that time, all we're going to have is a country of criminals that are telling the good people of this America, don't listen to other people who are pointing out their criminal activities because that makes you a terrorist. That's so wrong and it's so nonsense. And anyone who believes that, well, I don't know what to say. You're not paying attention, and you certainly can't be a lover of the Constitution and the Founding Fathers if you believe the nonsense that is coming out of the mouths of those in the administration these days. Here, this is a story. It's in the Daily Caller. Media Matters memo called for hiring private investigators to look into the personal lives of Fox employees. A little after 1 p.m. on September 29, 2009, Carl Fritsch emailed a memo to his bosses, Media Matters for America, founder David Brock and President Eric Burns. In the first few lines, Fritsch explained why Media Matters should launch a Fox fund whose mission would be to attack the Fox News channel. Simply put, Fritsch wrote, the progressive movement is in need of an enemy. George W. Bush is gone. We really don't have John McCain to kick around anymore. Filling the lack of leadership on the right, Fox News has emerged as the central enemy and antagonist of the Obama administration, our congressional majorities, and the progressive movement as a whole. We must take Fox News head-on in a well-funded presidential-style campaign to discredit and embarrass the network, making it illegitimate in the eyes of the news consumers. What Fritsch proceeded to suggest, however, went well beyond what legitimate presidential campaigns attempt. We should hire private investigators to look into the personal lives of Fox News anchors, hosts, reporters, prominent contributors, senior network and corporate staff, he wrote. After that, Fritsch argued, should come that the legal assault, we should look into contracting with a major law firm to study any available legal actions that can be taken against Fox News, from a class action lawsuit to defamation claims for those wronged by the network. I imagine this would be difficult, but the right law firm is bound to find some legal ground for us to take action against the network. Fritsch went on to call for an elaborate shareholder campaign against News Corporation, the parent company of Fox News. This can take many forms, from a front group of shareholders to passing resolutions at shareholder meetings or massive demonstrations. So good. Fox News needs to be investigated. You know, it's really easy. Polls out there show if you're a Fox News watcher, you know less about what's going on in the world than other people. So Fox is a leader in making you stupid. So watch Fox and you'll get dumber. That's pretty much how it works. So they are fair and balanced in that regard because they are, well, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to say about that. So they're just not a very honest network. All right. Next one here. Let's jump over. This is Ron Paul's weekly address. We don't want to miss this because always good news. Here we go.
On Paul with your weekly update for February 13th. Many religious conservatives, understandably, are upset with the latest Obamacare mandate, which will require religious employers, including Catholic employers, to provide birth control to workers receiving health care benefits. This mandate includes certain birth control devices that are considered abortifacients, like IUDs and the morning after pill. Of course, Catholic teaching forbid the use of any sort of contraceptive devices, so this rule is anathema to the religious beliefs of Catholic employers. Religious freedom always has been considered sacrosanct in this country. However, our federal bureaucracy increasingly forces Americans to subsidize behaviors they find personally abhorrent, either through agency mandates or direct transfer payments funded by tax dollars. Proponents of this mandate do not understand the gravity of forcing employers to subsidize activities that deeply conflict with their religious convictions. Proponents also do not understand that a refusal to subsidize those activities does not mean the employer is denying access to health care. If employers don't provide free food to employees, do we accuse them of starving their workers? In truth, this mandate has nothing to do with health care and everything to do with the abortion industry and a hatred for traditional religious values. Obamacare apologists cannot abide any religious philosophy that promotes large, two-parent, nuclear, heterosexual families and frowns on divorce and abortion. Because the political class hates these values, it feels compelled to impose by force of law its preferred vision of society. Single parents are noble, birth control should be encouraged at any age, and abortion must be upheld as an absolute moral right. So the political class simply tells the American people and American industry what values must prevail and what costs must be borne to implement those values. This time, however, the political class has been shocked by the uproar to the new mandate that it did not anticipate or understand. The Catholic hospitals face the existential choice of obeying their conscience and engaging in civil disobedience, or closing their doors because government claims the power to force them to violate the teachings of their faith. This terrible imposition has resonated with many Americans, and now the Obama administration finds itself having to defend the terrible culture baggage of the anti-religious left. Of course, many Catholic leaders originally supported Obamacare because they naively believed, against all evidence, that benign angels in governments will improve medical care for the poor. And many religious leaders support federal welfare programs generally without understanding that recipients of those dollars can use them for abortions, contraceptives, or any number of activities that conflict deeply with religious teachings. This is why private charity is so vitally important and morally superior to a government-run medical system. The First Amendment guarantee of religious liberty is intended to ensure that Americans never have to put the demands of the federal government ahead of their own conscience or religious beliefs. This new policy turns that guarantee on its head. The benefits or drawbacks of birth control are not the issue. The issue is whether government may force private employers and private citizens to violate their moral code simply by operating their businesses or paying their taxes. Thanks for calling this update. The new date is placed on this number, 888-322-1414, every Monday. The written text can be found on my website, www.house.gov/call, under the heading Texas Straight Talk. Thank
All right, very good. So, it's not right what they wanted to do. It's not right what they want to do. You know, people have religious freedom, their opportunity to do what they're going to do, and to have the government step in Like I said yesterday, at a certain point, what are they going to start telling Catholics that you have to eat meat now on Fridays during Lent, or they're going to tell the Jewish community you have to start eating pork and doing other things, and what everyone's just supposed to stop their traditions so that they can follow along what the White House has to say? There's a man in the White House who thinks there's 57 states in the United States of America. That's because this man isn't from the United States of America, so he doesn't know any better. And people keep listening to this guy. I'm telling you, sometimes it's like the blind leading the blind in this country. Don't you agree? All right. This article here comes to us from today's Zaman. And this is a picture here, pretty interesting. The world's earliest toy car and title deed on show at Mardin Museum. Look at that little car there. The world's earliest toy car and deed, which were unearthed several months ago during excavations of the Kitstepe district in the southeastern province of Mardin, are now on display at the Mardin Museum. The Chian news agent report Tuesday. Archaeologist Metsep Alp said that the toy car, which is made out of stone, dates back to the late Stone Age and is thought to be about 7,500 years old. The Culture and Tourism Director of Mardin, Davut Bekte, said that the car is like a copy of cars today, adding that in its shape, the ancient toy also resembles a tractor. Bekte also revealed the toy dolls and whistles, also made of stone, were found at sites in the area. We believe that the whistles and dolls are 5,000 to 6,000 years old. The whistles are in still working condition, he said. The second new relic on the show at the museum is an ancient stone tablet inscribed with writing. Following exhaustive historical analysis, the writing on the 5-centimeter stone was uncovered at an excavation site in the Gernavis Mound, 4 kilometers from the historic district of Nusaybin. It was deemed to be the content of an ancient title deed. Belkte said that the writing on the historic tablet had managed to remain intact over the years because of excellent preservation techniques. The script, he explained, had been scraped onto the clayish surface with a nail, and then a tablet had been placed in a burner. Archaeologist Alp explained that the title deed is 2,800 years old and pertains to the selling of a garden. The content of the deed is, he added, refers to a fruit garden and the fruit trees within, which are to be split between the tree and the sons of the owner. The deed refers to Nabalu, which Alp explained was the old name of the current Naisubin. Beltke has confirmed that comprehensive information on the 2 finds will be provided soon. So that's pretty interesting. So if they had a model, something that they were able to design this car after then, 7,500 years ago, the question is, what were they looking at that they designed this car according to? You know, and did they just make this up in their minds? Was this just pure imagination? And if it wasn't, then a vehicle like this existed that somebody was making a model of. Because usually that's how it works. When we have the toys in our civilization these days, these toys are all based on things that are out there, right? Hot wheel cars, model cars, things of this nature. So something exists, or did exist, that they were modeling this after 7,500 years ago. Very interesting. Stories online. It's daily news. Click on that link at the First Contact Radio and you'll be able to find the whole story and read it yourself. Alright, this story here comes to us from Fukushima. And this is still dealing with the problem there. Goes on to say, pretending that Fukushima reactors achieved a state of cold shutdown was a political rather than scientific decision. TEPCO itself said the state of cold shutdown could only continue so long as the temperature within the nuclear reactor stayed below 100 degrees Celsius, because the thermometers within the reactors have a 20-degree margin of error. TEPCO says that any reading over 80 degrees violates the conditions for a cold shutdown. As Bloomberg notes today, Tokyo Electric Power Company said the temperature in one of the damaged reactors at the Fukushima nuclear station rose to levels above safety limits even as it injected increased amounts of cooling water. One of the thermometers indicated the temperature at the bottom of number 2 reactor pressure vessel rose to 93.7 degrees Celsius, or 200.7 degrees Fahrenheit. Today, higher than the 80-degree limit. Tanaka, a spokeswoman for utility known as TEPCO, said by phone today. The thermometers have a margin of error as much as 20 degrees, but major Japanese news source Yomiuri and Jiji note that the thermometer in Reactor 2 has since climbed to 272.8 degrees Celsius and then hit the upper limit of the thermostat at 400 degrees Celsius, 725 degrees Fahrenheit. In other words, the thermometer is showing temperatures more than 4 times higher than the 100 degrees Celsius limit for a cold shutdown. TEPCO claims that such a high reading means the thermometer must be broken and is maintaining its declaration of cold shutdown based on the reading of other thermometers. Of course, the fuel is moving around, so there could be hot spots and cooler spots within each reactor. Of course, TEPCO could be right. The thermometer could be broken, but I am not convinced, given that ever since the earthquake last year, TEPCO has repeatedly claimed that instrument is broken when there is a new reading of things that have gone haywire. Indeed, one of the Japanese writers said that TEPCO spokeswoman sounded testy when asked how TEPCO knew the thermometer was broken. But in good news, a second nearby 4-reactor nuclear complex, which almost melted down last March, which is 7 miles away from the infamous, apparently is in a true state of cold shutdown. All right, so we got one in a cold state of shutdown and one that TEPCO is not being honest with. Now, why should we believe anything that TEPCO says? I certainly don't, because they've lied over and over and over again. And there comes a certain point in time, at least for me, in my humble opinion, I believe that when someone keeps lying to you over and over and over, you stop listening to them. Like Obama. Obama has lied so much, I don't even listen to what he says anymore. In government agencies, I don't listen to what they say because they just lie, or the mainstream media, they lie. At a certain point in time, I think in your lives, you have to decide when you're going to stop listening to the lies and when you're going to actually start listening for the truth. It's very important. It's very important. Too many individuals on this planet right now have given up their integrity and they accept the lies as if that's how it's supposed to be. Doesn't need to be that way. We can change things, but we have to stop lying, and we have to stop listening to the lies and encouraging the lies. And the best thing to do is stand up. Make your stand, folks. Make your stand. You all have a degree of integrity that's there. Some of it may have been pushed down by others and discouraged by others. I'm encouraging you to stand in your integrity. Stand in the God-given integrity that you have, and I promise you it'll make a very, very big difference in your life. Now, the very last story we have for today, this comes to us from RT. This is Tool Time and the Tool of the Week. Here we go.
All right, guys, it's time for tonight's Tool Time Award, and tonight goes to 3 very special states: Wisconsin, Missouri, and Maine. Now, do you remember last week we told you about the foreclosure fraud settlement with 5 of the biggest banks? Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, Citi, Wells Fargo, and Ally Financial were all ordered to shell over $26 billion, money that was supposed to go to helping those families that were kicked out of their homes from 2008 to 2011 or that are majorly underwater. Now, as I said last week, and I will say again, that $26 billion would hardly put a Band-Aid over the massive foreclosure problem in our country or the people that are hurting as a result. But 3 states have decided to step in and actually use those funds to balance their budget and not actually to give the funds to the families that are actually suffering. You see, part of the settlement for each state will go directly to the state government, and it's designed to cover a whole host of costs like providing additional relief to borrowers, paying civil penalties, and even setting up foreclosure relief programs. But it looks like some governors have their own plans on how to spend those dollars. Take Wisconsin, for example. America's Dairyland is the recipient of $140 million from this settlement, and $31 million of that money will go directly to the state. We've learned that 25 of the $31 million designed to help Wisconsin's foreclosure problems are going to be shifted to help the state balance its budget. That's right, 86% of that portion. That's going to help Governor Scott Walker be able to say that he was able to balance the budget, a stated priority of his. But Wisconsin isn't alone in this tactical move. Missouri has decided to follow suit with its share of the pie. Kansas City Star is reporting that the Show Me State will take $40 million from the $140 million settlement to use for funding public universities. Now, Governor Jay Nixon took this settlement as a way for him to get back on everyone's good side after he originally announced a 12% cut for public schools. Now, Nixon saw the settlement as a way to fix his budget problem and conveniently announced his transfer of money last week. Now, Maine is planning on following in Nixon and Walker's footsteps. The state as a whole will be receiving $21 million, and $8.2 million will be handed to the government. Attorney General William Schneider has already said that 5.7 of that $8 million is going to go towards a general fund. So we can only imagine where that money is going to end up. Certainly not in homeowners' hands. So those are three different examples of the same travesty. States taking money intended to help prevent future foreclosure crises, to help fix the current crisis that's going on, and moving that money to fix their troubled budgets that they're responsible for. So is Obama shaking his head yet? Well, he should be, because moves like these further prove my point from last week. And this massive settlement isn't enough to fix our housing problem. But hey, as long as the state looks good and looks like they're doing everything they can to fix their budget, then who cares how that money is managed, right? Meanwhile, those that are truly suffering from robo-signings, from fraud, those that lost their homes to the banks, will receive less aid when governors and states divert the money to other places. Maine, Missouri, and Wisconsin. So that's why we're giving all three of them tonight's Tool Time Award for taking that money intended to help a specific group of people and using it to help their budget woes that, let's admit, those governors may have had something to do with creating themselves.
All right. Now, do you see in that particular situation how a little bit of integrity from those who are receiving the money might go a long way? But politicians, unfortunately, don't seem to have integrity, because if they did, they would use the money where it was supposed to go. The people that lost their houses. It's a sad, sad thing, my friends. The world is going to hell in a handbasket because people don't care anymore, and they're just allowing it to go, allowing the liars to continue to be in power. That's why there's problems. All right, the very last thing we're going to do today is our meditation. Just go ahead and close your eyes, relax. Close your eyes and relax. All right, let's imagine on this Valentine's Day, let's focus on the idea of love. Focus the idea on love. Love, my friends, is the greatest source in the universe. It's the greatest force in the universe. And all we need to do is focus on love. So let's imagine that we are standing out. Everybody is out all around the world, just standing, looking up at the sky. And as you're looking up at the sky and you're seeing the rays of the sun shining down, imagine that all these rays shining down upon you are rays of love. Rays of love coming from the universe, particularly for you and your friends and your family and everyone else. And as you absorb these rays of love, it feels natural. It feels normal. And as you absorb these rays and these waves of love, notice how any feelings unlike love are released from your body. They are cleansed and pushed away. And the doubts and the fears leave, and the love remains. The hatred and the anger disappears, and the love remains. It is like a shower that washes down upon everyone. And imagine living in a world where all of our doubts and fears were gone. Imagine living in a world where love was the most important thing that we considered each and every day, the world would be a much different place, and people would act in a much different manner. Integrity would be valued. Let's imagine that all of our chakras are activated so we can fully accept and utilize the energies all around us. Starting with the chakra at the bottom of the spine, imagine the color red. And let that energy draw up from the earth into that chakra. And then let that energy raise from that lower root chakra to the chakra above it, which is right at the belly button. And the color red changes to the color orange. And then from there, the energy raises up higher to just below the rib cage, and the orange color changes to yellow. And from this chakra just below the rib cage, the energy continues up to the heart, and the yellow becomes green. And the green heart chakra energy moves up, and as it goes to the throat, the color changes to blue. And the energy keeps going all the way up to between the two eyes, between the two eyebrows. This is called your third eye. And the color changes to violets. And finally to the top of your head, the violet color goes and becomes indigo and transforms into white light as it continues on up into the cosmos. Your chakras are activated. Energy pulses in and out from all around. Each one of the chakras works on different aspects of our vehicles, of our bodies, our emotional body, our physical body, our intellectual body, our heart center, our communication center, our center for looking through dimensions of space and time. Now, as we've just been feeling the waves of love poured down upon us and everyone around the planet, and as all of our chakras are activated, let's just think good thoughts for everybody around the world. Send out good wishes for everyone around the planet this day. And as we think good thoughts, let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. And there you have it, my friends. That's the end of our show, our prayer, our meditation. Thanks for being here again. It's always a pleasure. Starting off each and every day in the first contact way. That's it. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. Have a great day. I will talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.